Alright guys, Tom here and welcome to a new video, and today I'm really excited because today I'm bringing you my first Monday Night Raw review of 2014. Yes, surprisingly I haven't even reviewed Monday Night Raw since the 30th of December 2013, which was a hell of a long time ago. You remember when it was Brock Lesnar that returned, the Wyatt family captured Daniel Bryan. Yes, that was the 30th of December 2013. And I haven't done a Raw review since then last year, which is absolutely incredible. I've been really busy with college work. Usually when I watch Monday Night Raw, it's on the Tuesday night, and really, I've been getting a lot of homework. There's usually Champions League football on, so I really just don't have time to watch Raw's 3 hours, then do a review, then upload it. But now my fiber optic's in, I've had an internet package upgrade, and now get a really good upload speed of around 15 megabytes per second, which is absolutely epic. So it now takes me around 5 minutes to upload a Raw review, which used to take around an hour and a half. So when I used to upload Raw reviews, it was getting on for around 10 past 10 in the UK and at night time, and now it'll hardly take any time whatsoever. But Tuesday last night I really didn't have time because Man United were playing, but today I'm still doing it. I think this is what I'm going to do. If I don't get it out on Tuesday, I'm still going to try and get a Raw review done before the Raw the next week. But anyway, Raw review for the 24th of February 2014. Already made a mistake, but this is from Green Bay, Wisconsin, Monday Night Raw this week, and WWE had to absolutely sell their asses off to sell that WWE network, because of course, if you didn't realize, even if you've watched Monday Night Raw, of course you've realized that the WWE network came out the day that the Raw was on this week. And of course, you're not going to forget it, they mentioned it the whole way through the show. That was the backbone of Monday Night Raw this week. Promote the WWE network. They got Hogan back, they got Taker, Ric Flair, Booker T. They had to absolutely sell their asses off with top names and to have some great segments and matches to sell that WWE network. And this Monday Night Raw was absolutely freaking awesome. This was the best Monday Night Raw of 2014 so far. Forget old school Raw, we had Jake the Snake come back, but to be honest, this was the best Monday Night Raw of 2014 so far, and certainly one of the best Monday Night Raws I think we've seen since when it was in Manchester in November. This is a freaking awesome Monday Night Raw. It literally had everything we're going to review it the whole way through, because I honestly think there was hardly any bad moments during this Monday Night Raw. The worst moment was probably a Divas match, and really, if the worst moment on a Raw is a Divas match, you know they've done well. But the first thing happened was that Hulk Hogan addressed the WWE Universe. Yes, the Hulkamaniac Hulk Hogan has finally returned to the WWE since 2005. An amazing way to start Monday Night Raw. Hulk Hogan as over as ever. The crowd absolutely popped for Hulk Hogan. Yes, the crowd was dead for a majority of the night, which was a disappointment when they had so many good matchups and segments and returns, but Hulk Hogan by far easily got probably the biggest pop of the night, even maybe against Undertaker, but Hulk Hogan certainly, the crowd absolutely popped. I was having goosebumps the whole way through his entrance and promo. It was a great moment. I could not believe what I was watching. Hulk Hogan finally returned to the Monday Night Raw and WWE since 2005, which is absolutely incredible. An amazing moment. I could not believe it. Really, there's no better way to start Monday Night Raw. And really, his job was to sell the WWE Universe. Of course, people are going to log on and buy it after Hulk Hogan returns and advertises the WWE Network. Now, the WWE Network Hulk Hogan probably came back to advertise it to the older generation, but really, if you've got Hulk Hogan advertising the WWE Network, it's a good way to get people to buy it, and of course, to tune into Monday Night Raw. They did a good way of advertising it, and it certainly brought in ratings, and it was just an epic moment and feeling to have Hulk Hogan back on Monday Night Raw. Certainly no complaints from my part. There was nothing wrong with this whatsoever. Getting Hogan back, announcing he is the host of WrestleMania 30, and really, we really are on the road to WrestleMania 30 when you've got big names like Hulk Hogan kicking off your Monday Night Raw for the 24th of February 2014. Now, he did slip up. He did say the WWE Universe instead of the WWE Network, but he did kind of make up for that. He did actually adjust what he did say, but the only slip up he made was that it was great in going to the crowd and doing that. It was just an amazing feeling. No complaints whatsoever. I'll have to give that a good 9 out of 10. No complaints whatsoever to advertise the WWE Network, but it's Hulk Hogan. I don't care what he says. Hulk Hogan was on my TV. Now, the next match was actually a really, really strange one. I mean, at the Elimination Chamber 2014, the worst match was Alberto Del Rio against Batista. So for them to have their first opening match of Monday Night Raw, the night the WWE Network had launched prior in that day, that they have the worst match on the pay-per-view the night before, opening your Monday Night Raw. And the fact that they had this alongside Hulk Hogan returning was a rather strange one. Now, the WWE Universe absolutely lapped that matchup at Elimination Chamber. They were having an absolute field day booing Batista, and honestly, for this to be the opening match on Monday Night Raw was really in bad taste. I was not a fan of this whatsoever. It got absolutely shut on the night before, so to think that it wasn't going to get the same reaction was an absolutely stupid mistake by the creative team. And honestly, why would you have this after an amazing Hulk Hogan return? I mean, it really left a bad taste in my mouth after Hulk Hogan comes back since 2005. And then you have this match which nobody cared about the night before, and then you do another match of it, and it was even more of a disappointment this time because Alberto Del Rio got the win, which was rather strange, and I honestly don't know the decision behind this. But if we're going to take down the match, to be honest, it was even worse than the night before. Now, the boos, of course, were tapered down a bit. They weren't as loud because, of course, a pay-per-view crowd is always a lot rowdy than a Monday Night Raw, especially compared to a Friday Night SmackDown crowd, because really, people pay top dollar to go to a pay-per-view event, and it's really what people pay for is the pay-per-views. People watch WWE for the pay-per-views, and honestly, you're going to get more boos on a pay-per-view, but the Monday Night Raw one was slightly toned down, but still, I've not heard a worse reaction for somebody on a Monday Night Raw in the years I've been watching WWE. Now, I've been watching WWE since around 2003, and I've never heard somebody get such a reaction like Batista, all for the wrong reasons. And to be honest, for them to do this again, the opening match on Monday Night Raw was a huge mistake because entertainment-wise, this absolutely sucks yet again. It was just a regurgitated bullshit of what we saw last night. I mean, Batista looked absolutely out of breath. He could hardly run. There was lots of stoppages because he just couldn't keep up with the pace. Del Rio had to oversell every move because Batista's move just didn't look legitimate whatsoever. They looked very weak. Numerous times he botched what he was doing. It just didn't look clean whatsoever, whatever he was doing. Every time he went for some kind of takedown, it looked slow-paced, and Del Rio had to try his best to sell every move Batista did. He looked very sloppy, no pacing whatsoever, and to be honest, yet again, the match was a shame. I think I was actually excited to see it at Elimination Chamber. I thought, this could be a good match, but I did not expect the reaction Batista got, and that really shat on the match overall. But the match itself wasn't great. So for them to do it again on Monday Night Raw with the same kind of reaction, but yet again the match still wasn't entertaining, was just a really bad decision. And did they really expect it to be slightly better? To be honest, not a very good way to open Monday Night Raw, but what followed was quite still disappointing as well. Now, arguably, this is this first kind of slight hint, or sorry, starting to build the Mania match between Batista and Randy Orton. And for the first way they're going to start building it is with Randy Orton coming out, hitting his theme music, and Del Rio getting a sneaky pin or a roll-up pin on Batista. I mean, is that the first way you're going to start building this match up, with like a lame roll-up pin? And it wasn't even the last time they did it on this week's Monday Night Raw. They did it again with later in the show, but the first thing they're going to build it with is a roll-up pin by Randy Orton coming out, hitting his theme music during a match between Batista and Del Rio getting a roll-up pin. How unoriginal could they have got with that? I mean, it's the main event of WrestleMania 30. I want some originality, some uniqueness in the main event of WrestleMania 30 this year. And they're going to start it off by Randy Orton hitting his music and getting Batista lose his match with a roll-up pin by Del Rio. Very unoriginal. I really would have liked to have the first build towards this match a little bit more unique than a roll-up pin. And also, I was quite surprised in Alberto Del Rio getting the win. I mean, you've got to make Batista seem like he's going to win the championship at WrestleMania 30. I mean, Randy Orton's been the champion since TLC 2013 after defeating Cena. So, surely, you've got to make Batista as believable as possible going into that Mania match that he's actually going to defeat Randy Orton. And the first time they have a confrontation, Batista gets beat by Alberto Del Rio. And Alberto Del Rio has looked very flat, looked absolutely weak, not looked great whatsoever since Survivor Series when he lost to Cena, and Alberto Del Rio getting a win of Batista really loses Batista a lot of momentum. Yes, it was a roll-up pin, but honestly, he didn't look great throughout the match anyway, and for him to lose with a roll-up pin makes him look very, very weak. But the most disappointing thing about this match was that they actually made this the opener of Monday Night Raw. Very, very bad taste, did not like it whatsoever, and I can't understand why they thought that would be a good idea considering the reaction it got on the night before. But honestly, could they have done something a lot bit more unique to build the first match between Batista and Randy Orton? So for me, a big fat 5 out of 10. So, the next bit was the Intercontinental Champion, Big E Langston, defeating Cesaro. Sorry, Big E defeating Cesaro. So, it's the two guys who have now changed their name. Big E defeating Cesaro via disqualification. And wow, I would have much preferred this one to open Monday Night Raw because it was actually a very, very good match between Cesaro and Big E. There was a lot of throws. My main spot during this match was, in fact, when Cesaro, of course, did the Cesaro swing. But there was also some very, very good moves as well throughout this match. There was where Big E Langston was sitting below the turnbuckle and Cesaro ran at him and did a European uppercut to his neck whilst he was sat down on the ground. That was a great move. He also chucked him up and did the European uppercut, and he also did a swinging neckbreaker reverse when Big E Langston jumped. He jumped, leaped, and then Cesaro span him round and did a backbreaker to Big E Langston, the swinging backbreaker where they tossed him up and slammed them down on their knee. He did that, and that was absolutely awesome. There was a few belly to bellies, but obviously this match was two young guys going out there to show them what they can do. And yet again, Big E Langston, Big E just impresses me. This guy is looking absolutely fantastic. A great match. Would have preferred this to open the Monday Night Raw because this was a very, very good 10 to 15 match. Span over a few commercial breaks. Very, very good match indeed. Really, really, really like this match. But overall, Big E did in fact get the win, which to me, I wasn't too much a fan of. I think the ending was quite strange in my opinion. I mean, Cesaro, he did the swing, which the crowd absolutely popped for. This guy is absolutely freaking over with that swing. You know you're doing good when everybody in the crowd is up chanting for the swing whilst you're a heel. He is doing absolutely fantastic at the moment. He hit the swing on Big E, which was sold very, very well with his arms out, looked great. But the thing that I really didn't like was Cesaro was going for the neutralizer, which I wish he did. He did actually do it after the match, but he was going for the neutralizer, and then Jack Swagger got in the ring and put the angle lock on Big E. Now, it just really looked lame. I mean, Cesaro was in control, Big E was looking great, and Swagger was clapping Cesaro all the way through the ring, all the way through the match to egg him on. Obviously, Swagger lost to Big E the night before at Elimination Chamber, but then Swagger just hops in the ring and gives Big E an angle lock like it's a normal thing to do, to just get somebody, your tag team partner's opponent in a match and just give him an angle lock. It really just looked lame as hell. Like, who jumps in a ring and gives somebody an angle lock during your tag team partner's match? It just didn't look legit whatsoever, did not look believable. But I actually thought this was a good way to give a slight hint that Cesaro is turning face on Jack Swagger and they will have a match at WrestleMania 30. Now, the crowd were chanting for the neutralizer. Swagger jumps in the ring and goes for the ankle lock, and the crowd absolutely shat on Jack Swagger. A great, unique way to slightly turn somebody's face in Cesaro. Now, the crowd were disappointed. I was disappointed at home because I wanted to see Cesaro hit that neutralizer on Big E. He's a big guy, and I wanted to see if Cesaro could do it. I know he could do it, I just wanted to see him do it. So for Swagger to jump in the ring and not let the fans see that was a great way to give heat to Swagger, and also gets fans behind Cesaro because they wanted to see the neutralizer. So when he hit it after the match was a great moment, and honestly, you're just instantly going to get heat if Swagger was going to do that. Great way to slightly hint at Cesaro turning face as well. I'm actually excited to see how this goes, but really, the story behind this was that Jack Swagger's jealous that Cesaro was better than him and was looking in closing in on a victory against Big E. Now, I did say it was kind of strange that Swagger did this, but I am also quite happy that it happened because I think if Cesaro was going to be in a feud with Big E, obviously if Cesaro got a win over Big E, he would then obviously become the #1 contender for the IC Championship. I don't think I like the fact that Big E would face Cesaro because honestly, I think Cesaro and Swagger are fine as a tag team. Now, the tag team division since TLC, it's really looking very slim. I mean, at Survivor Series, and TLC, they had some great tag tag team action. I think they had a fatal 4-way tag match. And now it's looking really slim. I mean, the New Age Outlaws have absolutely ran with them belts. The Usos aren't looking particularly good as what they were a few weeks ago. You've now got the Primetime Players breaking up. Cody Rhodes and Goldust are looking a bit flat. Ryback and Curtis Axel got a loss on the kickoff show. So the tag team division isn't great. So for Cesaro and Swagger to now be breaking up, maybe, not particularly the greatest decision. But to be honest, I mean, if Cesaro was going to get in a feud with Big E, I wouldn't be a fan of that because I like Swagger and Cesaro as a tag team, so it wouldn't make sense for Cesaro to be in an IC Championship feud with Big E when also both guys need help being built up. So two young guys going at it in a feud wouldn't really help one of the guys, and also I don't think Cesaro would benefit from an IC Championship match because I think he's doing fine as a tag team. So for Big E to pick up the victory here, I'm not too bothered about. I think it was great how they actually found a unique way to get heat on Swagger, but I liked how Big E Langston got finished off with a neutralizer in the end, which pleased the fans, of course. It was all about pleasing the fans last night on Monday Night Raw, because obviously the WWE Network is all about the fans. But obviously, I was happy Big E got the win because I think Cesaro and Swagger are okay as a tag team. And if they're actually doing Swagger versus Cesaro at WrestleMania 30, then you don't want Cesaro as the #1 contender as the Intercontinental Championship. But reviewing the match, very, very good match. Would have liked a clean ending, but it does build up a Jack Swagger and Cesaro feud, and maybe we'll get a little bit more of that on Monday Night Raw next week. But it does start it off in a nice way. So I'll give that a nice 8 out of 10. Now, the next bit which happened was John Cena calling out Bray Wyatt. Now, this segment was actually pretty good. Now, I didn't like the fact that John Cena, as soon as he came out in the first 10 seconds of his promo, both used Hulk Hogan and the Wisconsin crowd, Green Bay, Wisconsin crowd, to get over. I mean, how cheap of a pop do you want to get? They're ultimately trying to get this guy over as much as possible, but it did actually work in the end because when he came out, he got 50-50 boots and cheers, but when at the end of the promo, the Wyatt family got absolutely booed and Cena got cheered out of the building because when John Cena called out the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt hit an absolutely amazing promo on John Cena. Very, very good promo about John Cena. And then John Cena invited them in the ring. He said, if you're going to be the future, you've got to prove it against me. You've got to come against me, which, to be honest, I don't really like because a lot of people don't like John Cena. So for him to be calling himself the guy, we know he's the guy, but really, I mean, we're bored of this guy. Come on. We don't want to see all the new guys going up against him. But the Wyatt family got in the ring and basically attacked John Cena. And this really was a start of a feud between John Cena against the Wyatt family. And they've been on an absolute roll so far. I mean, they won against the Shield the night before. Then they took out John Cena in the Elimination Chamber. And now, guess what happens? They confront John Cena and take him out. Great segment, out of script till the end. They kept the anticipation going up. I mean, I think the segment lasted around 10 minutes and I was gripped till the end. So it's a good, I think it was good that they kept me engaged for that long. I'm not particularly sure how, considering it was a John Cena promo. But that Bray Wyatt promo was absolutely freaking epic. He called himself the Master, the Lord. It was great. But what ended was they took out John Cena. So now they've taken out John Cena after a great Elimination Chamber night. And then they take out John Cena, which at the end of the day, puts them over so well. They've taken out the biggest face in the WWE. They've taken out the face of the WWE, puts them over so well, gets a lot of heat for the Wyatt family. And a great way to put them over. I mean, it takes John Cena out. He probably will be on next week's Monday Night Raw, seeing as he is good for ratings. But to sell this off, he might be back in 2 weeks or something like that. But it does put over Bray Wyatt and his family quite well in the end, because they've injured John Cena and now he is out for at least a week. So I would have liked this segment to end with a Bray Wyatt hitting the Sister Abigail. I mean, John Cena was clutching his leg, but they didn't really hit a move on him. They just scrambled him down, and they didn't hit a Sister Abigail or a power bomb or a clothesline or anything like that. They literally just scrambled him to the ground. I would have liked if they hit the Sister Abigail or something that you remember, because it really was just a scramble on the floor and he just clutched his leg. But I did like it when the Wyatt family retreated, and then I think it was Luke Harper went back on the ring apron, and then Bray Wyatt absolutely just landed on him from behind. It was great that they just reinvented the attack again. But at the end of the day, takes out John Cena and puts them over very well. But one thing I would like to mention is that they've got to keep up the Wyatt family momentum. They're on absolutely fucking roll at the moment. I mean, the Wyatt family won against the Shield, who have been absolutely dominant in the last 1 year and a half. They took out John Cena in the Elimination Chamber, practically cost him a world title or a WrestleMania 30 main event. They then take out John Cena the night before after confronting him. So they've definitely got to keep up the momentum for when John Cena does finally return, because he probably will return next week on Monday Night Raw. He won't be returning on Friday Night SmackDown, of course. It will be a Monday Night Raw probably next week. So they've got to do well to keep up the Wyatt family momentum, because they're as good as they've ever been. Have got as much momentum as they have ever had in the WWE. So they've definitely got to keep this momentum up for when John Cena returns, because I think I'm going to be surprised how good this match is going to be. This could steal the show at WrestleMania 30. And it does look like they're going or heading in a good direction, considering how good the promo was on Monday Night Raw, and the fact that they've taken out John Cena, the biggest face in the WWE. It'll be interesting to see how they go with it, but I'm very excited. Just what they've got to do is keep the momentum alive for when Cena returns, maybe possibly next week or the week after. And they certainly did that later on in the show. Now, the next match was Sheamus against Christian, and Sheamus did in fact get the win. Now, he got the win against Christian on Friday Night SmackDown last week, but to be honest, for them to do this match again, and the match on Friday Night SmackDown wasn't particularly great. A lot of people said it was good, but I really wasn't impressed with their match on Monday Night Raw. Friday Night SmackDown last week. It was the last match before the Chamber match, and to be honest, for them to do it again, I was slightly disappointed, because yet again, I was disappointed in the Sheamus and Christian match. Wasn't great yet again. I really wasn't impressed the first time, so for them to do it again and it not to be good again is even more of a double disappointment. Wasn't great whatsoever, nothing impressive except the ending. Really, I think one of the reasons they did do this is because they announced it on the pre-show for Monday Night Raw. Yes, they are now doing a pre-show and an end show. Sorry, what is it called? A pre-show and a post-show for Monday Night Raw every week. So it goes from 3 hours to 4 hours. I mean, I can hardly sit through 3 hours, but they basically announced this match on the pre-show, so it's supposedly going to advertise the WWE Network. That's probably why they did it. But it really wasn't a match to advertise the WWE Network, because I wasn't impressed with it whatsoever. Still, yet another boring match between these two. Wasn't great on Friday Night SmackDown, so why would it be great on Monday Night Raw? Some people just don't click in the ring. I don't think these guys have any chemistry between each other. So for them to do it again, whilst advertising the pre-show for Monday Night Raw, I was quite disappointed, and I definitely think they could have picked two other opponents to advertise that pre-show, because honestly, their match wasn't great, and the only good thing about it was that it had a pay-per-view ending worthy ending. Anyway, Christian jumping on the top rope, and then Sheamus doing a bro kick whilst he was in the midair, which certainly is a pay-per-view worthy match. And what am I saying? It's definitely something that you'd expect to end a match on a pay-per-view. So to get it on a Monday Night Raw was absolutely fantastic. Great way to end the match, which was disappointing. Now, it's funny how I remember that out of the whole match. So really, the fact that the match was disappointing, but I still remember that great moment, isn't too bad, because that was a very, very good moment. So for me, I'll give the match itself a 6 out of 10, because I didn't think it was great, but the ending to it was absolutely fantastic, and I still remember it now. Good ending. The match itself was quite disappointing. Really doesn't build anything whatsoever. I mean, Christian turned heel last week on Monday Night Raw, and he then lost on the Monday Night Raw against Daniel Bryan. He lost against Sheamus on Friday Night SmackDown. Of course, he lost in the Chamber, and now he loses to Sheamus again on Monday Night Raw. I mean, what was the point of turning this guy heel if he's not going to make an impact since changing his gimmick? Really doesn't make sense, and quite a disappointment for Christian. Well, I'm quite a fan of Christian's in-ring work. I just am, and to be honest, he's not in a great place at the moment. Seems pointless turning him heel when he really hasn't done anything, really definitely hasn't done anything since turning heel on Raw. Now, the next match was Daniel Bryan defeating Kane. Yep, they're still keeping with the Kane and Daniel Bryan feud, as it seems. Now, basically, one of the reasons they did this was to slightly advertise the WWE Network. They had a post-interview with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon about what they thought of the WWE Network and its launch, what the feeling was of them launching it on the day. I mean, that was like the dumbest question ever. What do you feel? What is your feeling of how the WWE Network has launched? What's the right answer? That was just a really dumb question to ask. But anyway, it pretty much ended with Daniel Bryan wrecking the interview and asking Triple H for a WrestleMania 30 match. Now, one thing I didn't like about this interview was the microphone wasn't even on. So she was Renee Young was sticking a microphone up to people talking, and it wasn't on, which was quite awkward, and they didn't even notice that. But anything more than Daniel Bryan winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 30 is going to be a big disappointment. Now, the funny thing was, Triple H walked away saying he wants a WrestleMania 30 match. WrestleMania. Like, they're obviously going to go in the direction of Daniel Bryan versus Triple H at WrestleMania 30. And in my opinion, and the fans' reaction, anything less than Daniel Bryan winning at the end of WrestleMania 30, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and the New Orleans crowd going, yes, 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 is going to be a disappointment. If anything less than that happens, we're going to be disappointed. And the fact that they're going in that direction of Triple H versus Daniel Bryan is going to be a huge disappointment. It's not something I want to see. Yes, it'll be a good match, but the fact that we've been teased and we know he has the potential to lift that championship at the end of the night, and we're not getting it, we want it and we're not getting it, it's a big disappointment. But they did do Daniel Bryan versus Kane again. The fact that Kane did cost Daniel Bryan the World Heavyweight Championship. He did, in fact, cost him the World Heavyweight Championship. He was bound to win. Nobody kicks out of that flying knee, the Bukkake kick by Daniel Bryan. So he did cost him. But yet again, for the second week in a row, we have Kane versus Daniel Bryan. There's really nothing else they can do between Kane and Daniel Bryan. I mean, Kane has chokeslammed Daniel Bryan numerous times. Daniel Bryan's attacked Kane numerous times. He did it in the Chamber match the night before. They've now had 2 matches on Monday Night Raw. It just seems like they're trying to bring as much as they can out between Kane and Daniel Bryan before Triple H steps in there and challenges Daniel Bryan. I mean, much more can we cope with this? I mean, we saw it last week on Monday Night Raw, the match was good. We saw it this week, the match was even better. It was a very, very good match in my opinion. But how much more can we sit through Kane against Daniel Bryan? I mean, these guys were even tag team partners. And yet again, we see Kane and Daniel Bryan go up against each other. I mean, how much more can we see? We saw it last week, we saw it again this week. The match was good, but I mean, we've seen it for the last, what, month, 2 months? Kane against Daniel Bryan in some way, shape or form. I mean, I'm not sure how much more I can sit between Kane and Daniel Bryan, but for me, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I still don't like how they call him Corporate Kane. I mean, it's like saying he's more of a gimmick rather than part of the authority and head of he's the devil's favorite director of he's the director of operations. Calling him Corporate Kane sounds like a gimmick rather than director of operations. I wish they wouldn't do that. JBL was calling him a garden gnome, Daniel Bryan, the whole way through the match. How fucking childish can he get calling somebody a garden gnome? Now, the inevitability is that Daniel Bryan will win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in the coming months. So to start calling him a garden gnome isn't giving him a good opportunity to go run with that belt. I mean, are you going to call your champion a garden gnome? I really wish they'd stop with this childish humour. JBL calling him a freaking garden gnome. How dumb is that? But at the end of it, Kane against Daniel Bryan again. We've seen it all before for the last month. Not too interesting. The match was good, but not really had any bite to it because we've already seen it before. Did notice that Daniel Bryan's reaction slightly quieter than usual, maybe to do with him getting screwed over again in the same fashion the night before, or to do with the fact that Taker and Hulk Hogan were returning on the same show. He really wasn't the biggest attraction of the night, but I'll give that a 7 out of 10. Now, the next match was the biggest disappointment of the night, was Emma's in-ring debut on Monday Night Raw against Summer Rae. Now, Emma's coming... Well, she's basically debuting on Monday Night Raw. And for her first match to be against Summer Rae. Now, Summer Rae's only had 1 match, and that was at Survivor Series with Fandango. So, her first match is against Summer Rae, who herself has only had 1 match, and don't believe she's even had a match on Monday Night Raw. You want to be putting Emma over. So for her to be trying to get over Summer Rae, who really hasn't established herself in the WWE, isn't really a good way to start her career in WWE. I mean, you wanted to face somebody like maybe not an AJ Lee, maybe a Natalya, somebody like that, or a Bella Twin, somebody who's actually established in the WWE. Summer Rae's only had 1 match since breaking out from NXT. I like the fact that they did this match on the night the WWE Network had launched, because this feud arguably has been building for a good month, with Emma appearing in the crowd and Summer Rae reacting. So it was the first meaningful Divas match we have probably seen since TLC, where Natalya faced AJ Lee. So it was a bit of a heated Divas match. I mean, it's the most meaningful we have seen in a while. bar none. I mean, we really haven't seen any action in the Divas division since AJ Lee's pretty much wiped out every person in the Divas division. So this match was okay. It did have some slight meaning to it, but too many sleeper holds, no pacing whatsoever. Very, very big disappointment. I mean, Emma has a very, very easy gimmick to get over. Like, she just dances and everybody reacts. She's not going to have much difficulty with getting over with the crowd. But her first match, huge disappointment. She's over, but huge disappointing first match. Very, very big disappointment. But the fact that the most disappointing thing on a Monday Night Raw this week was a Divas match, when they're not particularly good anyway, was a good sign for how good Monday Night Raw was overall. For me, 4 out of 10. Bad debut, but still. Now, the next match was quite strange. I mean, it was the Usos defeating the WWE Tag Team Champions, the New Age Outlaws. And I was quite disappointed in how this went down. Basically, the Usos came out, so did the New Age Outlaws. The New Age Outlaws got on the mic and said, "You young boys, get out the ring. We want to do our intro." When they were doing the intro, the bell had already rung before they said that and wanted to do their intro. So basically, they were both in the ring. The bell rang. The New Age Outlaws got on mic and wanted to do their intro. After the match had already started, they did that, and they started doing their their whole intro they do at the start of every match. Honestly, it's just a waste of time. We've heard it all before, but one of the Usos super kicked Road Dogg whilst he was doing his intro, and they didn't. The match had already started, of course, and basically one of them took out one of Billy Gunn out of the ring, and then Jimmy or Jay, the Usos, jumped off the top rope doing the DX sign, which was absolutely epic in midair, and hit the splash and pinned Road Dogg for the win. Now, to be honest, a lot of people were expecting the Usos to pick up the championships the night before Elimination Chamber. So I don't see the harm with giving the Usos a clean win on the Monday Night Raw after, because it proves that they're going to win it in the future and there's something to be reckoning with. But the fact that they give the Usos a cheap win, not a clean win whatsoever, over the New Age Outlaws is a bit of a disappointment. What would have been the harm in giving the Usos a clean win? At least it proves that they will or could win against the New Age Outlaws if they put the championships on the line, possibly at WrestleMania 30. Why didn't they have to give them a clean win? What would have been the problem with giving them that clean victory? Because it definitely builds the match a lot more than giving the Usos a cheap win over the New Age Outlaws. Now, the bad thing about this was the crowd really didn't know how to react when this happened, because we're not sure, still not sure, they still haven't confirmed or shown us who are the New Age Outlaws. Are they face? Are they heel? We don't know. Now, they talked to the Usos, they trash talked them, but they still pandered to the crowd by doing their intro and suck it. But then they talked down to the Usos, and they won on the Elimination Chamber by holding one of the Usos shorts with the roll-up pin. They won with a roll-up pin. I mean, are they face or heel? So when the Usos attacked the New Age Outlaws, half the crowd booed and half the crowd cheered. I mean, if you want to go to this match at WrestleMania 30, you've got to have a clear heel and a face. You can't have it mixed. Now, I know it's difficult when you have legends like the New Age Outlaws trying to make them heel, but why turn them into heel in the first place if you don't want them, if you don't believe they're not going to get booed? It's just quite confusing for how the crowd is supposed to react. So the Usos got heat, which wasn't really needed. It reminded me of when Ray came out in the Rumble as number 30. Unneeded heat, which is a bit unfair because the Usos didn't book themselves like that. I mean, they're over as hell, so it wouldn't be a shame for them to get heat like that, which is a huge disappointment for the crowd to boo the Usos when they're so freaking over. So for me, bit of a disappointment why they didn't give them the clean victory, and for the Usos to get booed, quite a big disappointment, 5 out of 10. Now, the next match was Bray Wyatt defeating Roman Reigns via disqualification. First things first, this match was probably a pay-per-view worthy match, so yet again, they're still booking great matches on this Monday Night Raw between Reigns and Bray Wyatt, the two leaders of the two biggest factions we have seen in possibly a good few years. Maybe the Nexus might top it, but to be honest, this match was a huge disappointment. Very, very slow pacing. It relied on big moves. There was not really any pace. I mean, there was only a few explosive moves like the Superman punch, which really got the crowd going. Big disappointment. Lots of sleeper holds. Nothing too interesting in this match whatsoever. It only really got interesting at the end, towards the end of the match. And honestly, I still really can't remember what really happened. I mean, basically, I think Roman Reigns was looking like he was going to hit the spear on Bray Wyatt. Then the Wyatt family music hits, and then Luke Harper and Eric Rowan were then at ringside. They weren't at the ringside at the start off. Then the Shield 2 members, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, were at Roman Reigns' side at all. I think Michael Cole should have advertised that it was Roman Reigns' first match where the Shield aren't at ringside. I mean, he's been in the WWE for nearly a year and a half, and he's never been in a match where the Shield are at ringside. So that was a big moment. They didn't actually advertise that. They could have. They dropped the ball there. But basically, Seth Rollins came out of nowhere and did a springboard moonsault outside where the Eric Rowan and Luke Harper were. Great move. Earlier in the night, Dean Ambrose walked out on Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns when they were doing a backstage promo because they believed Dean Ambrose wasn't there when they needed him during the end of the match at Elimination Chamber. Because if you remember, Dean Ambrose was missing for like a good 5 minutes, and during that time, Seth Rollins got put through a table and Roman Reigns got Sister Abigail and lost the match. And they blamed Dean Ambrose on that loss, which was a bit of a strange one, bit of a unique way to blame the loss, because I honestly think they lost in a clean fashion. But for them to blame Dean Ambrose for the loss is a bit of a strange one. So he basically walked out on the Shield and said he was done. But it was quite a shock factor for when he ran down and helped Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns during that match, which was quite cool. And, sorry, I'd like to mention earlier when the Usos got... oh, shit, I'm reading the wrong thing here. Wait, hang on. Where are we? Bray Wyatt defeating Roman Reigns, yes. So, it ended up with Dean Ambrose brawling with Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. And then, yet again, exactly like what Jack Swagger did, he walks in the ring and just attacks Bray Wyatt. Like, Roman Reigns wasn't in trouble against Bray Wyatt. They would fight in the ring, and then, like Jack Swagger, Dean Ambrose walks in the ring and starts attacking Bray Wyatt. Exactly what Jack Swagger did. It was a bit weird that they did the same spot in 2 different matches during Monday Night Raw. It was pretty much the same. He just walks in for no reason when Roman Reigns wasn't in trouble whatsoever. And then Roman Reigns really didn't react to it whatsoever. He thought it was an okay thing to do, which I was quite surprised about. I mean, I was expecting Roman Reigns to be angry at Ambrose for doing this because he looked like he was going to win, but he didn't react whatsoever, so I was a bit confused why he didn't say anything. But, yeah, it was weird that they did the same spot again with Dean Ambrose, as same as Jack Swagger. But, yeah, the match itself was quite disappointing, but it does now look like the Shield are on the same page. They're still teasing at them breaking up, but now again they'll crop up with where they all look in unison and as a team. And it ended with the Shield standing tall in the ring. So yet again, still slightly teasing at them breaking up, but yet again it's becoming more frequent where they don't look like they're unified, and a lot more frequent that they have breakages or cracks within the Shield. So it's going to get a lot more frequent, I guess, in the next few weeks. But they stand tall and unified on this week's Monday Night Raw. I can't wait for them to break up, in my opinion. Now, the last segment was Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman cutting an absolutely epic promo about Brock Lesnar's career. Now, he talks all about the things that he's done, like winning the World Heavyweight Championship, the World WWE title as the youngest WWE champion, winning the youngest Royal Rumble winner, going to the UFC and conquering the Octagon. Every time he said one of these major steps, he said, conquered, conquered, conquered. It was a great promo by Paul Heyman. I loved it. It was very, very meaningful. Very, very, just awesome. All-round awesome promo. Really said everything I believe Brock Lesnar's about. It was very, very good. Great way to put over Brock Lesnar as well. I'm not sure they can come as close as Shawn Michaels did at WrestleMania 27 to possibly defeating the streak, because really, I'm not sure people still believe in in anybody ever defeating the streak. So for me, I'm not going to buy in the fact that Brock Lesnar is going to defeat the streak against Undertaker, but it was a good way to put over Brock Lesnar and maybe a good way to build him up for that Mania match. But do people really believe Undertaker isn't going to walk out of WrestleMania 30 winning over Brock Lesnar? But it did look like Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman were announcing that he didn't want a match. He said that the authority have given him a contract where anybody can sign it and he'll have a match. But they didn't want that. They wanted a world title match. So they started to walk out the ring and Undertaker came out. Now, the only problem I had with this was that it had been leaked all over the internet that Undertaker was returning on the 24th of February 2014. And the fact that they left this until the last segment made it way too obvious that The Undertaker was returning, because it was the last segment. It was obviously the last segment. There was only a good 15 minutes left. And The Undertaker was already... He would already been pretty much confirmed that he'd be on that Monday Night Raw. So the fact that it was the last segment, it was obvious that it was The Undertaker. So the surprise factor was kind of taken out of it, Like, if they did this earlier in the show, then we might not maybe have expected it to be The Undertaker, because there were rumors earlier in the year that Brock wouldn't be facing Taker because he wasn't prepared to put in the time in planning the match, because Taker, he rehearses the last few matches he's had at WrestleMania 30, and there was time with Brock, there was the issue that Brock Lesnar wasn't bothered about putting the time with Undertaker because he just wants the money. He really doesn't want to have a good match and put it on for the fans. He really, at the end of the day, wants the money. Which I really don't have an issue with it, to be honest, but it was rumoured that he wasn't going to have a match with Taker. So the fact that they left this till the last segment did take the surprise factor out of it, because the fans were already chanting Taker. They knew it was Undertaker. If they did it early in the night, maybe possibly wouldn't have been it would have been more surprising that it was Taker. But Undertaker came out to a huge pop and basically ended with Undertaker chokeslamming Brock Lesnar through the announce table. An amazing way to end this huge, epic, blockbuster Monday Night Raw. It leaves it open for next week's Monday Night Raw. Is Undertaker and Brock Lesnar going to be there on Monday Night Raw? And what is the next step in this feud? I mean, they had an absolutely epic feud in 2003. It was absolutely awesome. It was what really put over Brock Lesnar as that guy. The Undertaker really helped put over Brock Lesnar and made him a huge star. So for me, the fact that they had a stare down at one of the UFC events, these guys know that they have had a good feud. They loved working with each other. They talked with each other, and they even said, we'll have a stare down at a UFC pay-per-view to set up, or even convince Vince to set this match up at WrestleMania 30. These guys are in real life friends, and they had a stare down at WrestleMania, a UFC event. I'm sure you've all seen it, because they wanted to give Vince McMahon an excuse to put these guys in a WrestleMania match, because they know they work well, they have good matches, and they have great chemistry, and they're in real life friends. So it's great that Vince has listened to them and they're doing this, because they're both going to be happy about this match being booked. I know a lot of times people are booked against people they don't really like, but this is going to be one hell of a match. They're going to put on a great match. They're going to rehearse it well. It's going to be one of those great matches where they just click. We always know that they click, so it's just going to be a great match. I cannot wait. But Taker is walking out as the champion. But I can't wait for a great match. Really interested to see what they do on next week's Monday Night Raw. They're starting the build early. It's been a great way to start the build by putting Brock Lesnar through a table with a great chokeslam, by the way. He sold it very, very well. Few people sell it as well as Brock Lesnar. Cannot wait for next week's Monday Night Raw. A great Monday Night Raw overall, ending with Undertaker returning, getting a huge pop, and setting up a match between Brock Lesnar and himself at WrestleMania 30. Cannot wait. Hope you have in fact enjoyed this Raw review. Thanks for watching. Take care, spite your hair. I'll give this week's Monday Night Raw a nice little 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Take care. Woo! Woo! Take care, spite your hair.